Experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. Today is Friday, August 7th, 2020. We were supposed to do a show today about how sodium affects the suprachiasmatic nuclei and thus could cause sleep derangement and maybe even cause some of the same problems that shift work causes. But Elisa booked the interview almost a month ago, and just this morning at 5:30 a.m., we found out that the guest couldn't be here. Or chose not to be here. Not sure what the reason is, but nonetheless, I had to fill in with a question and answer. And thank you for all of you who immediately posted your questions up on Facebook and emailed me some as well. We're going to get to everybody's questions before we start off today's show. I got to say, so look, so I got my DS Craze shirt on. It's green. I didn't think about this. This is a green screen behind me. So everything that's green just turned red. How do you like that? Pretty cool. We have to thank our title sponsor, of course, Legendary Foods, who, without their support, this show would not continue on. The website is eatlegendary.com. The code is SHR10 for 10% off everything. They're going to be introducing a new flavor, I believe, in October. 2 new flavors for the Tasty Pastry. For those of you who love that Pop-Tart-like good snack, it is amazing. Everybody who buys them says they're amazing. But please don't forget about their nut butters and their seasoned almonds. Almonds are the freshest almonds I've ever tasted. That's one of the things that astonishes me about their seasoned almonds. It's not just the flavoring, the pizza flavor, the nacho cheese flavor, but when you bite into them, you taste almond, really strong almond flavor. And that's only accomplished because of the fact that they source the best almonds and the freshest almonds in the world. Show them some love. When you use the code, maybe 10% isn't a big deal to you, but it shows that you found out about them from the show and continues to make them feel good about their endorsement of the show. So please do that. You can still post questions right now. We're going to answer questions. We've got a lot of them. And we have quite a few live listeners right now, so feel free to add your questions to the list. I will get to everybody's question, no matter how ridiculous it is, and we have some ridiculous ones today. So we should probably get right started with the first question, who comes from a good friend of mine, Keith Allen. He said, what vitamin supplements are you currently taking daily? Are you still on HRT? And if so, what chemicals and dosages? So I don't take a lot of vitamins. I don't take a multi. I do take a B12. That I do take the sublingual. I do take CoQ10. I take that daily. I take SPM Active plus 2 other fish oil products from Metagenics. You can get them on my website at superhumanradio.net. We have a Metagenics banner ad. Metagenics has the best fish oil products in the world. And their SPM Active is a concentrate of the things in fish oil that actually reduce chronic inflammation. SPM stands for specialized pro-inflammatory mediators, or SPM. It's a highly concentrated portion of the fish oil that they've identified is the reason that fish oil reduces inflammation in the body. Specific something mediators. I thought it was pro-inflammatory, but it can't be pro-inflammatory. That would mean that it increases inflammation. But yeah, those are the only things I'm taking right now. As far as HRT, I'm only on testosterone, and I'm only on a very low dose. I'm not training hard right now. I don't see any reason to take more than I need. And plus, my new testosterone is coming out. I actually have a meeting Monday morning with the pharmaceutical company that's making it, and we'll be talking about it as we go forward. But I think I'm doing about 250 milligrams a week right now of testosterone and anthate, and that's it. And I'm doing it sub-Q. I'm not doing intramuscular. But I will up my game sometime in the wintertime as my training becomes more serious, and it will. COVID-19 has really knocked the crap out of me. but that'll be changing very shortly. Thanks for the question, Keith. Rick Pack says, do you think it's a good time to buy a house in Louisville, Kentucky? Yes, it is actually. Rick's parents live here in Louisville. I believe he lives in the Carolinas. It's a good time to buy a home because home sales are happening very quickly. Homes are not on the market very long. Some would say it's a seller's market, but interest rates are so good right now that, for what you're saving on interest, and Louisville continues to be a great place to live. Given there are a lot of things that frustrate me about Louisville, but when you compare it to the rest of the country, it's a better place to live than most places. Now, the downside is that we are under a big COVID continued lockdown here, but it's probably like that where you live now, so that hasn't changed. But yes, it's a great time to buy a home. Interest rates are fantastic. Wes Johnson, Wade Johnson's son, I've known for a long, long time. Wes says missionary or the rear, and why? He means doggy style. I have some theories on this, right? When you're really in love with somebody, you want to face them. You want to kiss them. You want to be engaged with them entirely, their mind and everything. And you can't really do that when the girl is in front of you on her knees facing away. I think that both of these styles of sex are gratifying. I think it just depends on who you're with and what you're trying to achieve. Bobby Cooper followed up with a question and said, pillow under the hips or no? Absolutely. If the girl has a great butt, prop it up a little bit. But yeah, the funny thing is the more in love you are with somebody, the more engaged you want to be with them, the more you want to face them, the more you want to feel all of them. You can't do that when you're doing some of this sport effing type stuff, which is what I used to call it when I was a young man in Las Vegas, sport. His wife is having trouble with the keto diet. My wife is really struggling to lose fat and weight on the keto diet. What are some strategies to try to continue to lose fat and weight? Appreciate your insights. Abandon the keto diet first. There's this absurd idea out there that if you're on the keto diet and it's not working for you, you should double down. Eat more fat, they say. Yes, maybe you're not in ketosis. Maybe you're not adhering to the ketogenic diet properly, so it's not working. Because I think Bobby Cooper raises that question in the thread. He said, is she really keto or is she cheating with carbs? If she's cheating with carbs, she shouldn't be doing the keto diet. She should just be doing an ultra low carb diet. Something about 120 grams of carbohydrates a day or less, focusing on green leafy vegetables and tubers, sweet potatoes and stuff like that as her carbohydrate source. I am a big fan of multiple meals a day. People don't like it because it's too complicated. Oh, I've got to prep my food. Okay. So then go do something else that's not going to work. But I can assure you that if the keto diet isn't working for her, she shouldn't double down on it. She should switch. And I think it's very sensible to do a 5-meal-a-day diet where you're focusing. We just talked about this. Go back to yesterday's show that we did with Bill Tocco. Bill is an amazing nutritionist. He only works with the top athletes. Everybody he works with, go to his Instagram. It's at War Room Nutrition. Look at the people he works with. They're all peeled. They're all muscular. They all have great dimensions to their physiques, great balance. And it's all because of his nutritional protocols. We just did a show yesterday. Listen to yesterday's show. Have your wife listen to it. A 5-meal-a-day program is 3 real meals and 2 protein shakes. Very easy for anybody to do that. Very easy. Focus on getting your protein high. Focus on protein first. Then add your fats in, and then your carbs, and keep your carbs at 120 grams a day or less. And she'll lose weight. The other thing is people are way too anxious. They see these commercials for sports supplements, where somebody lost 60 pounds in 30 days. It's like, that's insane. If you're losing an average of 3 pounds a month to 4 pounds a month, you're rocking. You're right in that place where you need to be where the fat loss is gradual. You won't lose a lot of muscle. And the other thing is your wife really, she's just looking at the scale? Because if she's just looking at the scale, she could be gaining muscle from her workouts and losing body fat. And she doesn't see the scale moving, so she's disappointed. It's very, very important to focus exclusively on fat loss and muscle creation when you're gauging the success of your diet, in my humble opinion. But yeah, tell her to switch it up. Go to a 5 meal a day program. Let's say she's 150 pounds, have 150 grams of protein a day. Start with that foundation. Add up what the calories are for that. Then add your fats in, and then add 120 grams of carbohydrates into that, and start there and do that for a few weeks before you determine whether or not it's working. And just do the 5 meal. You know, you have a breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, done. So that's it, 5 meals a day. Very, very simple to do. And that has been working for people literally for 100 years, because that is the true bodybuilding diet. It really does work. It's a fantastic thing. And again, if you want real help, reach out to Bill Tocco. Go to @WarRoomNutrition on Instagram, or go to his website, warroomnutrition.com, and reach out and ask him for some help, because he can definitely dial you in, so to speak. So these are comments from live listeners right now. Mike Baer, he lives here in Kentucky. He says, inspiration, Carl Lenore. Thank you for saying that. I don't know why I can't see who this is, but I'm going to try to change it right now. Hold on 1 second. So I've learned that for some reason, when I post the show on my personal page, and even though I select that I want, see, it switches back to friends only. I don't know why. I just switched it back to public. So now I can see things. Okay. But I still can't see who this is. Are aspartame and sucralose both poison? What's the real truth? You know, science says no. But then again, science is for sale today. One of the things I do like about looking at artificial sweeteners is the more artificial sweeteners you use, you tend to want more sweet foods. And you have to be careful, because it kind of revives the desire for sweet. I found when I lost the majority of my weight, let's put this picture up for a second. Hold on. There I am, 228 pounds. On the left, I am, or you're right, 330. And then there I am at 228. That picture at 228 was just a year and a half ago, I think, maybe 2 years ago. So when you give up all sugar and all sweets, you have a much easier time sticking to your diet, in my humble opinion, because you're not searching for sweets. Sweets are one of those things, the more you eat, the more you want. Aspartame, I'm a little sketchy about, because it does seem to affect glutamate in the brain, and that's an excitatory neurotransmitter. Sucralose, I don't think is as harmful, if it is harmful at all. But the reality is that the old adage, avoiding anything artificial, the more you avoid, the better off you will be, I think is good advice. Jeff Clifton, glutathione suppositories. New data says it may be superior because it bypasses the liver. Thoughts? Yes, of course. But the problem is, who's going to stick it up their butt? You know, so there is a 500 milligram melatonin suppository that people with fibromyalgia get great relief from. One a day. And it doesn't make you sleepy, ironically. You would think 500 milligrams of melatonin, that's got to like knock you out. No, because you're taking it rectally in a suppository, it doesn't seem to have that effect on you. However, women don't use it because they're just weird about sticking things up their butt. Most of us are. In fact, I read an article probably 20 years ago that opioid narcotics in certain areas of Europe, I think Sweden, for instance, only are available in suppository. And that has helped them suppress the use of pharmaceutical opioids, because who wants to go to their girl's house and say, hey, come on, let's get high. Take your pants off. I'll stick this up your butt and we'll be buzzing in a couple minutes. Like, that's such a turnoff, right? So the problem is a lot of these suppository products probably work, but few people are willing to This has to be Elisa, Specialized Pro Resolving Mediators. I don't know why her name isn't showing up. Elisa, what page are you commenting on? Are you commenting on my page or on the Superhuman Radio Network page? Okay. Let's see here. So we're going to get one more live question, then we'll go back to some of the other ones that were asked earlier. Chris Cross, Carl, I had a girl that I was going to see her. I was going to get the hotel and shit for like the long weekend. And the girl asked me to pay for her parking. I said, that's crazy. And she went nuts. What's up with that? What's your opinion for young men? What's fair these days? Like, I'm not trying to work 16 hours a day to be a 29-year-old sugar daddy. And you asked this question earlier too. So this is better clarification. So I think that in a committed relationship where a guy and a girl are together, there should be a 50-50 support of financial burdens, right? Because what happens is if you're one of those guys who wants to pay for everything, eventually that's going to become a difficult situation for you. A lot of young guys want to be saviors. I don't know. I may have paid for her parking. I'm not going to be petty about it. Would you buy her a drink if you went to the bar, or would you say you buy your own drink and I'll buy my drink? I don't know what the parking costs, but I think that if she just expects you to pay, that could be a warning sign that you don't really want to hang out with her. Because if she's expecting you to pay for everything, that's going to get old real fast. As far as relationships go, I always thought that as a man, I want to buy gifts for Elisa, for instance. And a lot of times Elisa gets mad at me. She's like, stop buying me these gifts. And I get it because she feels like, I don't want you spending all this money. But the reality is that I think that when you want to do something nice for somebody and spend money on them, that's okay. But when they expect you to do it, that's a warning sign, in my opinion. But I don't think you need to work 16 hours a day to pay for somebody's parking. If you guys are going to go for the long weekend and have a good time, maybe she's embarrassed to tell you that she didn't have the money. Like you could have said to her, do you not have the money? Is that why you're asking? And she may have said, yeah. If she says, no, but you're the guy, you should pay it. Then that's a warning sign. You're like, oh, I'm the guy, I should pay it. Now we're going into this relationship with the presupposition that I'm supposed to spend all my money and you're not supposed to spend any of yours. And that's a dangerous thing. That really is. All right, let's go back to some of the earlier questions, and we will get to everybody's questions, I promise you. So Amit Ram asked a great question, and it was seconded by James Waddell. And that is, which peptides are suitable for nasal application and why use bacterial water then? So just about every peptide can be delivered intranasally. You can bypass injecting by using it in your nose. But the peptides that seem to have nootropic benefits are even more useful as, like, I'm going to be blending some PE 2228 this weekend for a friend. I'm going to do a video of it. It's fantastic for depression. It only works intranasally. It has to be delivered to the brain. If you inject it, it doesn't do anything systematically, and the little tiny bit that gets to the brain then. The nose is the Trojan horse to the brain. Whatever you put up your nose goes right to your brain. And we all know about the efforts of the blood-brain barrier to keep stuff out. Well, one way to breach the blood-brain barrier is through your nose. So I would say every peptide can be delivered intranasally. Every peptide delivered through the nose will go to the brain and be delivered systemically, but the majority of it will be delivered to the brain. However, some are better suited. Melanotan 2, I love it intranasally. It wakes you up in the morning. It still gives you a tan, albeit slower than injecting it. You don't get the nausea or anything like that. So again, all of them can be delivered intranasally. Now, why use bacteriostatic water? Because bacteria can accumulate. And like I just said, you can breach the blood-brain barrier by delivering through the nose. You don't want a bacteria in there that you're injecting, shooting into your nose and breathing in, and it turns out to be something that eats your brain. I know that sounds funny, but it's true. So you want bacteriostatic water. And in my humble opinion, you want the sodium chloride version of bacteriostatic water because the sodium is nicer and more gentle to your nostrils, to the membrane, right? It's saline, has just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of bacteria of benzyl alcohol in it, just enough to keep bacteria from forming in it, but not enough to light up your nose when you use it. So that's why the bacteriostatic water is important, because you're sticking it up your nose. It would be very easy to contaminate what's in there, have bacteria form, and now you're injecting that up in your nose every single day. You don't want that. Christopher Price says, is combining either within the same work? Oh, I'm sorry. So I made a mistake here. This is, let's see. He's asking about BFR. Is combining both in the same workout or within the same training cycle, conventional training methods with BFR feasible? He goes on to ask. In the case, say I bang out deadlifts heavy, no BFR bands. After all deadlifts, I put the bands on my legs, do leg presses, leg extensions, and recumbent bicycling, all during the same session. Or in the second case, I would have a full lower body power training day, an upper body power training day. Then next lower body is all BFR, and the same with the next. I would suggest you combine them both in the same session. I think that so you start out with your heaviest movements, your lowest rep ranges. Then you move. So let's say that's a 5 rep range. Let's say you do 5 by 5 in a particular lift for this particular workout. Then you move to maybe a 10 to 12 rep range. And you're still using fairly heavy weight that you can execute and start to fail at 10 to 12 reps. And you continue to do those movements. And then as a finisher, you use your BFR bands. You put them on, upper body, lower body, whatever it is that you're working. And then you do isolation movements. In the case of legs, leg extension, leg curls. I think recumbent bike or even a regular bike or even treadmill work with the BFR bands on the lower legs is insanely painful. I was just talking to a buddy of mine at the gym, Vince, yesterday. And he said, I got BFR bands and I can't use them for very long. He says, because the pump and the lactate buildup is just insane. And it is. So you don't want to do that kind of work before you do your heavy work. You want to do all your heavy work, 5 rep range, maybe 10 to 12 rep range, and then finish off with high reps, lighter weight, and even consider drop sets. So if you're using a plate loaded machine that's easy to pull pins out, I would say do your 20 reps with your BFR bands and whatever the isolation movement is. Stop, rest a minute. While you're resting, drop the weight so you can continue to get full contractile force with every rep. And if you have to drop the weight a third time to bust out a third set and still stay in that 20 rep range. Now, by now, your muscles are screaming. You're done after that. There's nothing else to do. But I like the same session. George Tuliatos was bragging that his supplement regimen protected him when he was here in the United States. He does IM glutathione, NAC, vitamin C, D3, zinc, ALA, resveratrol, probiotics, colostrum. He traveled to the U.S. in March, worked during quarantine without wearing a mask or gloves, worked out every day in the gym for 2 months. His antibodies are negligible. So obviously he feels confident that what he's doing is working for him. Let's see where we are time-wise. Let's go back to the live questions here. Live questions here. Okay, let's go. Marcus Engdahl. If guns weren't invented and you had to rely on melee weapons, what would be the weapon of choice? I would say a mace. Yeah. I think a mace is an amazing, and don't forget, a mace could have a ball with blades on it, with spikes on it. I think a mace is an amazing weapon. I mean, you can create a perimeter around your body with it where people can't get close. You can disarm somebody. I mean, if a guy is getting ready to stab you with a sword and that mace comes down on his hand is coming off. I like a mace. I would love to learn how to fight with a mace. I think that would be fun. But thank God guns were invented. Aspartame question was from Len Moskowitz, and now his name is showing up. Thanks, Len. Thanks for doing that. Chris Cross says, thank you, Carl. Absolutely. Leah, you're getting sugar. Why shouldn't you pay for it? You're getting sugar. Why shouldn't you pay for it? I guess what you're saying is pay for it, like be punished for it. Is that what you're saying? I don't understand the statement, Leah. So if you could clarify what you were commenting on, I'll bring that back up and discuss it. Adam Stravis, so quick question. How come Brooks Kubik hasn't been on for quite some time? It's very sad for me to say this. Politics. When President Trump ran for office and I made it clear that I was a Trump supporter, Brooks, he didn't want to come on the show anymore. And then to top it off, he became vegan again, and he feels that my audience wouldn't accept him as a vegan. I love Brooks. I think Brooks is great. I considered him my friend. And, this whole unwillingness to allow people to have their own political opinions that we're suffering in this day and age, it's shocking to me. People don't talk to other people because of who they're supporting in a political race. What does that say about the sincerity of the quality of friendship with those people? I would love to have Brooks back on. In fact, the last time I reached out to him and said, let's get you back on, he said, well, I'm vegan now. I don't think your audience would appreciate it. That's not true. I mean, Mike Mahler's a vegan, and he could come on my show anytime, and he would. Okay. If natural thyroxine level is fine, but TSH is high, why is Synthroid prescribed? Yeah, right. So usually it's prescribed because there's a low conversion of T4 to T3. And if that's the case, what you really need is selenium and tyrosine. Because the selenoenzyme cascade, which is selenium, tyrosine, and a little bit of iodine, will improve the conversion to T3. T3 is the active form. I don't know why anybody would prescribe Synthroid. First of all, I don't know why any doctor would prescribe synthetic thyroid hormone when there are two fantastic, accepted by the medical orthodoxy products out there, and that is Armour Thyroid and Nature Thyroid. Those are both full spectrum thyroid hormones from porcine thyroid, pig thyroid, which is you can't tell the difference between pig thyroid tissue and human thyroid tissue. We share a lot of similarities in the digestive system and everything with pigs, by the way. I don't know why a doctor would prescribe Synthroid anyway. Most people who are put on Synthroid have miserable period of time trying to get broken into it. It's horrible. It really is. But I don't know. Natural thyroid level is fine. When you say natural thyroid level, thyroxine, so are we talking iodine? Or are we talking T3? Or are we talking about T4? I don't know why they would prescribe Synthroid at all, quite frankly. We have lots of questions loading up. Plus, we had lots of questions from previously. Let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with more. If you suffer from digestive issues like gas, bloating, cramping, even when you're eating healthy, nutritious foods, then you could probably benefit from a high-quality enzyme. As you know, I'm a mega fan of Bioptimizers. They're one of the few supplement companies who I use religiously because their products work. I asked them for a great deal for my listeners, and they over-delivered. Right now, you can get a bottle of Masszyme for free. All you need to do is pay a small shipping fee, and there's no catch, no tricks, no forced continuity, nothing to cancel. They're so confident in their product that they offer a 365-day money-back guarantee. I'm positive you'll love the results. I strongly suggest you head over to their site to grab your free bottle before this offer runs out. Go to masszymes.com/SHR free. That's MASSZYMES.com/SHRFREE, all one word. You will automatically get access to your unique coupon code to claim your free bottle, and there's a limit, one per household. Do you remember those delicious toaster pastries you had when you were a kid? You know, the rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, Seriously, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is which flavor, strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon. They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon. Over 11 million people in the U.S. have some form of retinal damage, also known as macular degeneration. This is expected to double to nearly 22 million by 2050. Artificial blue light, age, type 2 diabetes are all contributors. Doctors say there's no cure. ARMED is changing that opinion. In one clinical trial, 93% of patients had arrested or improved their condition. 54% reported lessening of glare, reduced dryness, and improved clarity and comfort. And 0% felt worse during treatment and no side effects. Take control of your macular degeneration or keep it from ever occurring. Go to wisechoicemedicine.com and get armed today. Select Savory Snacks Original Biltong is the healthier alternative to sugar-laden beef jerky. Their sugar-free biltong is seasoned and then air-dried for up to 2 weeks, providing you with one of the most tender and flavorful meat snacks that you've ever had. They also use a fattier cut of beef, which adds to the tenderness and gives their biltong even better flavor. Select Savory Snacks Original Biltong is the perfect snack or travel companion for your busy life. Get a free bottle of Ranch-tastic seasoning with every order. Free shipping on orders of $99 or more. Get yours today at selectsavory.snacks.com/SHR.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Are you still on the fence about Body Protection Complex BPC Oral from drseeds.com? Listen to Maggie Kuhn, one of the owners of the C-Bus Lifting Company gym in Columbus, Ohio.
I had been having some nagging tendon issues that weren't injuries, just things that were annoying. You know, I'm 58 years old, so just older tendon kind of issues. For us powerlifters, you know, we really don't stop training when we have just nagging issues. We just kind of keep pushing through. And I started BPC. What I noticed was I was doing some heavy tricep stuff that would have killed me before when I had an elbow problem, and I was able to do this with literally no pain at all.
Go to drseeds.com, drseeds.com. Use coupon code SHR and save 20% off your bottle of BPC Body Protection Complex today.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where brawn and brains finally meet.
Welcome back. Okay, so we have lots of second questions to follow up on. So I'll get to them as I move forward here. So just bear with me. Those of you who are posting responses to questions I asked, like in the case of the T3 and T4, I'll get to those in a second. I want to get to a couple of these questions that were sent in earlier. Barbaro says, is it a good idea to purposely give yourself COVID if the viral load is low? So a lot of people would look at this and think, gee, that's absurd. Like, why would you want to give yourself COVID? What people need to understand is that Alexander Yersin, who worked on the first vaccine for the Black Plague, which was like in the late 1800s, did so because of rumors of what was happening in the 1500s, where people were getting protective effects. So if somebody caught the plague and survived, they would still have weeping wounds, pussy weeping wounds. And doctors would bring them to your house, because they're technically not contagious per se anymore, but they're better and they've survived it. The doctor would scrape the outer layer of your skin, basically giving you a scrape where, you know, blood is starting to come to the surface. Take the pus from the weeping wound, rub it onto your arm. You would develop a fever generally for a couple, 3 days, and then you would be better. You wouldn't die from it, and it would go away, and you were protected from it. And this was the earliest evidence of antibodies without science actually understanding what an antibody was. So from that, early work became to come up with a more predictable manner to do this than to bring somebody sick to your house and scrape your arm and put their pus on your arm, right? And that's where vaccines started. Vaccines are basically leveraging hormesis. That which does not kill you makes you stronger. The poison is in the dose, like people like to say. It's very true. So the problem with this theory is, how do you purposefully give yourself a low viral load of it? How do you expose yourself to just enough of it to stimulate an immune response and not overcome you? And I guess if you did this and you had hydroxychloroquine and zithromycin and niacin, zinc around, and once you developed fever and you felt horrible, you started taking these and you knocked it out, and you gave your body a chance to respond to it and rebuild and build antibodies, yeah, that would be a good thing. But I think it's kind of risky. I think that some people could be overwhelmed by it and they could die from it. But it's an interesting concept, because they did this in your home in the UK when it was still considered Britain and England. I think it was during Henry VIII that they started to do this, where they would find people who recovered from it, and they would get either pus or even just blood from them and put it in an open bloody area of the recipient, and the recipient would get the fever for a few days and then get better. So it's nothing new. The problem with vaccines, as I see it, is the commercialization of vaccines, right? They took something that works, this hormetic effect, the ability for the immune system to learn to mount a response to this particular microbe or even virus. And in order to put it on a shelf, be able to ship it, have it stay stable, they had to add a lot of preservatives to it to make a multi-injection vial where, come back to Amit Ram's question, like, why would you use bacteriostatic water in intranasal? Because you don't want it to get loaded up with bacteria and then be shooting that in your nose. They had to make these vials stable for long-term on the shelf. And every time somebody stuck a needle in, they didn't introduce something new to it that would start growing in it. And then on top of that, they discovered something called adjuvants. Aluminum is used as an adjuvant. What an adjuvant does is it's such an obvious stimulator of immune response that the theory was that if we put this attenuated virus in your blood and a little bit of aluminum, the immune system would wake up to such a great degree that it would develop an antibody even to this weak attenuated strain of whatever it is they're putting in you. What we're learning now is the immune system developed a lot of different responses, not just to what they were giving you the vaccine for. And this really could be why we have widespread autoimmunity today. Really. But nobody talks about it. We did a show about this years ago, and the science is very, very profound. It's very, very strong, but no one talks about it. So my problems with vaccines have nothing to do whether or not they're effective at protecting and helping people, but that the commercialization of them required that they add things to them that then became harmful. So it's the profit side of vaccines that are adding things to vaccines that are not good for us. If they stuck to something that literally had a shelf life of days where you had to keep it refrigerated, we probably wouldn't have half the problems we have with the vaccines, and they'd still be effective. But that's never going to happen because there's no way to make billions of dollars on things that have a shelf life of 3 weeks. They can't do it. You'd have to decentralize the manufacturing of them. You'd have to turn over to compounding pharmacists. Like, now all of a sudden, big companies aren't interested in that anymore. Like, why are we going to make this? But yeah, it's an interesting concept, and it's really how people did protect themselves back in the old days from a lot of these scourges, as they were, health scourges. William Haney says, best place to buy 5-amino-1-MQ. Why? I used it for almost 2 months at the recommended dose and noticed nothing from it. I don't even know why people are all crazy about it. I guess if you've never used it, you want to experience it yourself. If you have used it already and it worked for you, I could see you wanting to find a source for it. But if you've never used it, Bill, don't even bother. There's so many other better things out there to use. It did nothing for me. I noticed nothing. Like, I couldn't, I stopped taking it and I didn't notice any changes. And I was told that once you stop taking it, it stops working. I didn't notice anything. And I didn't notice anything when I started taking it. So the next question comes from Ted Paul Bourne. He says, I'm trying to boost my appetite for the off season, having hunger and digestive issues. Any suggestions? Yes. You do this. You do what I'm going to say right now. You go to peptidesciences.com and you buy a couple vials of GHRP6 and you put 4 milliliters of diluent in there, bacteriostatic water, and you draw out 10 units. That's 125 micrograms. And you take that 15 minutes before you are supposed to eat. And you will not only be hungry, but you'll digest your food better. It will go through you faster. You'll be ready for your next meal. You take another 125 micrograms and boom, and you will grow. Because it's a ghrelin agonist, which not only stimulates hunger, but increases the effectiveness of digestion. It's called a gastric prokinetic. It will actually make your food move faster and will make your body digest it more completely. So you'll get more out of every single meal. That's it. It's simple. They should give this to every elderly person who doesn't want to eat anymore. 125 micrograms, 15 to 20 minutes before a meal, and you will eat your entire meal and it will go right through and you'll be ready to eat again in 2 or 3 hours. If that's what you want to do, you do another 125 micrograms and do it again. Don't take more than 125 micrograms, however, because the hunger will become so great that you won't be satisfied with your meal, and people tend to overeat when they do that. Peter Penorgia says, I have a pain in my right elbow. Ultrasound and x-ray show no lasting damage. Doc says it's overuse damage. I work a physical job and trying to keep out of working out. So you have to take off. BPC 157 absolutely works, and he says that. Haven't tried BPC yet. Not sure how to get it here in Toronto, Canada. Any thoughts other than taking time off work and how to help? So does it hurt when you pull or when you push? So just avoid those movements. If it hurts when you pull, try doing neutral grip where your palm is in. You may find that aggravates it less. It's usually the brachial radialis muscle that you're dealing with. You don't want to fool with this because this will lead to a tear. This will lead to a muscle tear or a complete breaking off at the insertion or the origination of the muscle. When you have an itis, tendonitis, over time, not letting it heal causes the tendon to unravel and become stringy, and it loses its tactile strength and it snaps. So you want to get better. Yes, BPC 157 absolutely will help. I would try ordering it from Peptide Sciences and see if they ship it in a plain envelope. It may get to you. Use the code SHR to save 10% off. But BPC 157 will make it heal 1,000 times faster. Like in a couple weeks, you'll be all better. And some people say in a couple days. So that's an absolute another tip right there. Let's see. Let's go to the live questions right here. So, okay, let me go back. I'm sorry. So Jordan Franz says, do I have any thoughts on Dr. Andrew Huberman believing that we shouldn't be supplementing with melatonin due to its main purpose being to suppress puberty? No, he's completely wrong. That's not its main purpose. This is a very, very dangerous statement to make. So yes, he is right that the onset of puberty occurs as melatonin drops. And that's why children who stay up late at night on their computers, their parents don't make them go to sleep, they artificially suppress melatonin and puberty comes on too soon. You see young girls sprouting nipples and hair on their vaginas, and boys doing the same thing, sprouting hair on their testicles. And but melatonin production persists throughout life. If he was right about this, it would stop at puberty and it would be gone. But that's just not true. So he's completely wrong. And these kind of suggestions are dangerous. And I know he's a doctor and all that, but he's wrong. And I would challenge him 1,000 different ways. And I'm not going to get into all the research now. But I mean, melatonin is made in the gut. It's not just made in the pineal gland. Melatonin has pleiotropic effects on the body that have nothing to do with puberty or even sleep. So, no, he's wrong. He's really, really wrong about this. And this is a dangerous thing because melatonin supplementation has been shown to protect elderly people from developing Alzheimer's disease. It's the powerful antioxidant that crosses the blood-brain barrier. It's one of the only ones that crosses the blood-brain barrier easily. I mean, it regulates body temperature. It does so many different things. What he is saying is he is taking one little aspect of melatonin, and that is that your melatonin level is the highest until you start to go through puberty, and they drop. And then as they drop, sex hormones come up. If he was right about this, then melatonin supplementation would lower testosterone in men. It doesn't. In fact, it can raise it. You know why? Because melatonin is a powerful anti-aromatase. It's an aromatase inhibitor in the testes. It actually suppresses the conversion of testosterone to estrogen in the testes. And that actually raises testosterone levels. There's a study out of Israel that's probably 20 years ago that showed that melatonin is a powerful aromatase inhibitor specifically in the testes. The fact that it does that tells you that it's not just here because of puberty. No, he's wrong. Real wrong. Does the dosing change when you're using intranasal? Yeah, you gotta use a little bit more of things like melanotan 2 if you want more of a systemic delivery to give you a tan, but not if you're looking for just brain effects. If you're just looking for let's say you're taking cerebrolysine just for your brain. Now you can use actually smaller doses than if you're injecting it, because you don't have to put as much in to get a little bit to get to your brain. So some the dosing does change. If you want a tan from melanotan 2, you probably have to do 200 micrograms a day. You couldn't inject 200 micrograms a day and make you so sick and nauseous. Let's see, who is this? I don't know. This is great, Carl. I love drop sets with BFR. Okay, I know who this is. I don't know why sometimes they pass through and why sometimes they don't. I'm really sorry about this, but for some reason, every now and then on my page, things change back. The security settings change back. Marcus Maygard says, good choice, Carl, about the mace. Yeah, I know, it's a great weapon. I would take one today in a fight, as long as it's not a gunfight. If it's a gunfight, I got a gun for that. Adam Stevis says, gotcha. Didn't mean to pry into something too personal. I was just curious, was all. No, it's very, very sad to me. Very sad to me. And to that extent, Rick Pack says he's going to email Brooks, communicating that I have serious concerns about some of the president's communications. If you want to get political, I don't have any problems with the president's communications at all. I have problems with the mainstream media's communications about the president. For instance, they spent more time talking about the fact that this president drinks diet soda than they have on the whole pedophile ring that's been exposed here. It's not the president's comments and communications. It's what the mainstream media seems to focus on. I mean, you can't put Joe Biden on TV for 5 seconds without him fumbling and saying something overtly racist, but nobody cares about that for some reason. So I have no problems with this president's communications, but I do have a problem with people picking fights with each other because of who they support. I respect your right to vote for whoever you want to vote for. That's America. And I am not going to befriend or not befriend you because of your choice. The level of intolerance today from a group of people who claims that they are the most intolerant and inclusive is startling to me. It's startling. But yeah, please email him. I'd love to have him back on the show. Jeff Clifton said T4. There's your problem, Jeff. So T4 is meaningless unless it converts to T3. You need to start eating a Brazil nut or two every single day. You need to start taking a couple hundred to 500 milligrams of L-tyrosine a day, and make sure you get one that doesn't have B6. It's just L-tyrosine. And then also you'll also want to start taking a good iodine complex that has all four of the different iodines and iodides, and you'll see a much higher conversion to T3 in literally in days and weeks. Danny Geraldo Oquendo is always here watching the show from Colombia. He's my buddy. Carrie Kruger is checking in from South Africa. It's so great to have you here today, Carrie. Thank you so much. And let's see here. What do you suggest to get rid of Baker's cyst? You're going to have to tell me what Baker's cyst is. I seem to know what it is. Isn't it a cyst on the finger? A hard cyst on the finger? If you can look into that, I'd appreciate it. Well, I'm going to take a break here. I have to take a break here in 26 seconds. So I'm going to roll it now. And when we come back, we'll answer more questions. Stay with us. And thank you for being here today. What did I do wrong here? Hold on a second.
Commercial grade saunas for in-home and commercial.
So I'm trying to run the show like I did when I was with Clear Channel. So I actually have the spots all set up to run at a certain time. And quite often I get a little long-winded. So here we go. We're going to run some breaks. We'll be right back with more of your questions. Stay tuned.
Quest Nutrition makes bars, cookies, chips, and pizzas out of complete dairy-based proteins. Our products minimize net carbs and sugar without sacrificing taste. Each delicious chocolate-flavored chip, cookie chunk, and crunchy crumble is custom made to maintain Quest macros. It's time to enjoy foods that work for you, not against you. It's time to enjoy your Quest.
Planet Earth CBD offers a fast-acting transdermal patch that targets your aches and pains for the relief you need. Not only is the patch uniquely patented, but it is widely believed to provide larger quantities of available cannabinoids to the source of pain than other brands' subpar products. Effective for 24 to 48 hours. Experience the benefits of Planet Earth's high-quality transdermal patch, manufactured by Next Generation Technology in an FDA-registered facility. This pressure-sensitive adhesive delivers rich hemp extract directly through the skin. Be it a neck ache or a headache, you can count on CBD to take off the edge. Go to planetearthcbd.com today to learn more.
Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000, or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today.
Everybody wants to feel better, be healthier and happier. If you don't sweat profusely on a regular basis, you won't feel as good as you could. Studies have shown the power of infrared sauna. Infrared penetrates 1 to 2 inches into the body. It helps those with back pain, fibromyalgia, arthritis, depression, and anxiety. Patients get relief from infrared sauna. The Good Health Sauna has been shown to be an exercise mimetic, conveying many of the same benefits as cardio. There are a lot of reasons people buy a Good Health Sauna, but the bottom line is you will be a much happier, healthier person by using the Good Health Sauna every day. You'll crave it, you'll love it, and it will be the best purchase you have ever made. Good Health Saunas provide commercial-grade saunas for in-home and commercial use, backed by the best lifetime warranty in the industry. Unmatched customer service and the best financing makes owning one easy and will fit any budget. Go to goodhealthsauna.com/superhumanradio to learn more and save 25% off.
Unlock your potential with the best cognitive enhancement and anti-aging supplements on the market. PureNootropics.net goes the extra mile for the highest quality ingredients, third-party tested to make sure you only receive the best your money can buy. There's no better choice with their money-back guarantee and free shipping. Try their best-selling DHM. Dihydromyricetin prevents hangovers and helps deliver detox after a night of drinking. Get your DHM and other nootropics and longevity supplements from PureNootropics.net, the purest supplements around.
I love beef. And if you love beef, listen up. I've discovered the best tasting beef in the world, and that's not an exaggeration, at Piedmontese.com. The Piedmontese breed is famous from Italy for being lean and unbelievably tender with half the fat and calories of traditional beef. Even typically tough cuts are tender when it comes from the Piedmontese cows. And for the first time ever, Piedmontese cows are being raised here in the USA. Get 2 free 10-ounce New York strips when you purchase $50 or more at Piedmontese.com with code SHR. Go to PIEDMONTESE.com and use code SHR today. You will never eat any other type of beef ever again.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where we use oxygen for the power of good.
Man, I'm so excited. We're getting a lot of questions, and it's really great. All right, so let's start off with we got that one ready. Kirkland Morletti wants to know any reason why large doses of citrulline would improve deep sleep. Conversion to arginine and ornithine, perhaps? No, it's conversion. It increases nitric oxide. Nitric oxide, and especially neuronal NOS, improve both deep sleep and REM sleep duration. This is why it's so important to breathe through the nose at night. And why people who snore and their mouth is open, they're breathing through their mouth, you're missing so much of the important nitric oxide production, which happens from the turbination of air in and out of your nose while you're breathing through your nose. But anything that raises nitric oxide is going to improve sleep quality by increasing both the duration of REM sleep and deep sleep. So it doesn't surprise me. Any of the nitric oxide precursors will work for that. But yeah, citrulline malate is a good one, a really good one. So Bradley Gibbo says he wants advice to a 33-year-old who's thinking whether or not to stay in California. A debacle is upon us in this state. Yeah, I mean, you know my son Chase, Brad. And so I tell him all the time, you need to think about your exit from California. You don't want to stay there. You don't. I'm sorry. People with money who have options are leaving California to go to Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Colorado. Well, maybe not Colorado, but my point is, yes, you really should think about it. While you're young, it's a lot easier to make a move like that than when you're old. Because plus, it's not just that the government is so they disregard the civilized population in that state. They want to give everything to the illegal aliens, and they want to take it from you. And look, I got no problem. My parents, my grandparents came from Italy. I mean, we all came here, but there's a way to come here. And if you're breaking into the state, it's just like breaking into somebody's house. They didn't invite you in. You shouldn't be there. And the problem with California is they're really trying to buy votes. They're buying voters. They want these people to come aboard. They want to give them health care on your dime. Meanwhile, you can't get health care without paying for it. It's a burden to live in California today. It really is. California, the state of California has been at the threshold of bankruptcy at least 3 times in the past decade. No, past 20 years. At least 3 times in the past 20 years. Think about that. The state has almost had to file bankruptcy. I think they actually did file bankruptcy, but then they got out of it somehow about 8 years ago. You can Google this and find out. Any state that's in that kind of jam, they start taking advantage of the citizenry because that's where they're going to get their money from. When they're in financial holes, where are they going to get their money from? They don't make anything. They don't build anything. They don't work. They just take the citizens' money and reallocate it for the things that they want. So I absolutely would consider moving from California. I tell Chase this all the time. I say, Chase, build your resume in California, but you got to think about leaving California at some point in time. Because there are people who are retiring and they're leaving California because the last thing they're going to do is try to live in California on their retirement money. They can't. I mean, look at housing. If you want to buy a house in California, like a little bungalow is $800,000. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. So yes, I think that, and you're young. Now is the time to really consider it and look at the states, find out which states are fiscally responsible states. There's a lot of states in this country that don't get a lot of fanfare, but every year they literally give tax money back to the taxpayers. Oh, we ended up with more money than we needed this year. Here's a check for $75 to all, 7 million people or whatever. Look for states that are fiscally responsible, because states that are fiscally responsible are less likely to exploit the citizens of their state to make up for their stupid, idiotic, poor budgeting approaches to running a state. A state is a business. Most businesses, if they were run like California, they'd all be out of business. But California just keeps raising taxes and taking money from other people to stay in business. So yeah, I think it's a worthy idea to consider moving out of California. All right, let's go back to some of these. So here we go. So Baker cyst. Okay, so I don't know it as a Baker cyst. I know it as a popliteal cyst. That's why you threw me when you said Baker cyst. I had never heard of that before. The popliteal is the smooth skin behind your knee, between your upper calf and your hamstring, right at the back of your leg. And a popliteal cyst is a fluid overflow. So what's happening is fluid is developing in outside the capsule joint of the knee. The capsule joint has the synovial fluid that keeps the cartilage and meniscus lubricated so that the knee moves nice and gently. Outside of that, if you start to develop fluid, it's usually because you have an injury. That injury could be anything from the onset of arthritis to a recent injury that you suffered. Maybe you took a bad step or something like that. My left leg, because I'm missing the anterior cruciate ligament from a skiing accident when I was in my teens, I get a popliteal cyst once in a blue moon. And it's usually because I either overextend the knee or I get down too deep into like a squatting position, and the knee joint wants to open because it doesn't have that ligament in the center keeping it nice and together. And I'll get fluid in the back of the knee in what's known as the popliteal area of the knee. And it usually goes away in a few days. If yours is not going away in a few days, you should go and have some images done of the knee and see if you have something called a bucket handle tear in the cartilage that's causing the knee to, so you know, you ever see when you go to a restaurant and they have the crabs and they put a little wedge of wood in between the thumb and the clipper so they can't open them? Well, a bucket handle tear kind of does the same thing to your knee. The knee fits nicely into the joint this way, actually. Okay. And the cartilage is in there and it's nice and it's smooth. And then something happens and you just bite the ear, the edge of it off, and it comes out into the joint. And you may feel like, you know, I can't lock my knee out sometimes. Sometimes I'll wake up and I can't lock my knee out. It feels like there's something caught in there. If you have that, that will usually result in the development of a popliteal cyst. And then jiggling the knee around and trying to manipulate and getting that to go back in where the knee isn't crowded any longer, it'll go away after a day or two. You need to have imaging done to find out what's going on with that knee. That could be an early sign of osteoarthritis. And maybe you have osteoarthritis and you know already. I'm sorry your name isn't showing up. I don't know who this is, but that's the best I can do on that. Jeff Clifton says melatonin is a great antioxidant and assists in lung function. I know. And yes, the dosages are critical, but there is some very, very high tolerable dosage. As I said before, 500 milligram melatonin suppository, women with fibromyalgia go through life with no pain, but they don't want to stick things up their butt, so they're kind of opposed to do it. But there are pharmacies that make it. Would melatonin have a negative interaction with any pain meds or NSAIDs? No, but it could have a negative interaction with MAIO inhibitors, monoamine oxidase inhibitors, which are used for depression and anxiety. And in fact, I have helped probably 40 people since I've been doing this show get off of SSRIs by incorporating melatonin in at night. I know a lot of people. The first one was a girl that was at the gym, Jeff Rui's gym, years and years ago. She wanted to get off of Wellbutrin, and she had been taking it for quite some time, and she didn't want to take it anymore. And I found a study, and it showed that you can get off of SSRIs if you start to incorporate melatonin in. You take it at night before bed, and you titrate your dose of the SSRI down by cutting it in 50% for 2 weeks, and then cutting that into 50% for 2 weeks, and then cutting that into, and then just stop. I have a good friend whose name I'm not going to mention, who literally started taking melatonin and literally just stopped taking his SSRIs, didn't miss it, felt better. His anxiety went away. So there are some potential interactions with anxiety and depressant drugs, but actually you can use melatonin to get off of those drugs. So that should tell you something. Danny Geraldo Oquendo from Colombia says, is it better to use local injections of BPC 157? Yes. BPC 157, not TB 500. TB 500 works systemically, but BPC 157, if you inject it close to the injured area, it will do a better job. So there's a lot of people who say, well, if you put it in your stomach, it's going to get there eventually. Sure, it is. But if you really just want the majority of it to get to the knee or the elbow that you're trying to fix, then put it right in the skin in that area, and it'll be a lot better and it'll get better faster. But not TB 500. That's a systemic use. You don't want it. That doesn't have to be local. Mike Bear says, Carl Lenore, you and your show, definitely a great wealth of information. So thank you. You are inspiration. Be blessed. Thank you, Mike, for saying that. That's very thoughtful of you. And Jeff Clifton, I think he's saying he's going to get all of that. He's going to get all the different stuff I said. So that's Brazil nut or 2 every single day is very, very high in bioavailable selenium. L-tyrosine without anything else, just pure L-tyrosine. You could even take a gram a day of that. And then, of course, a good iodide supplement. My current daily peptide protocols. I don't know who's asking this. I'm sorry. So right now I'm using oxytocin at bedtime. I'm using a little bit of HCG at bedtime, just 100 micrograms, because I am on testosterone. And then I also I just stopped using GHKCU. I did that for quite a few months, and I'm taking a little time off, but I was doing that at night before bed. And then daytime use, I mean, I use a lot of things in the daytime, BPC 157, mechano growth factor, those kind of things. But before bed right now, I'm just using the oxytocin and the HCG, and that's it. Oxytocin, I take 66 micrograms before bed. Man, it just knocks me out. I have to go right to sleep after that. It really, really does knock me out. Yes, of course, Carrie. Thank you. And thank you for being here and listening. Oh, so that was Michelle Melton asking about the popliteal cyst. Yeah, the Baker cyst. Yeah, they're nagging. I've had periods of time where my left leg gets it and it's tight. You feel the tightness in there. Just walking, it's stiff. And it's just because of the fluid around the capsule joint of the knee putting pressure on it. So general suggestions from a melatonin dosage per day, Carrie Kruger is saying, if you're using it at night before bed, you can use as little as 600 micrograms, less than a milligram. I personally take 9 milligrams a night and have for a long time. I started out at 3 milligrams a night 20 somewhat years ago. It's so improved my sleep. And I've gently increased it over time, which makes sense if you look at the research from Dr. Russell Ryder, however you want to pronounce his last name. He has done more research on the pineal gland and its primary hormone, melatonin, than anybody else. He's published over 800 studies about melatonin. Think about that. He still teaches at University of Dallas. He takes 60 milligrams a night. And the reason he says is because the older you get, the less responsive you are to it. So you got to double down with it. So I'm up to 9 milligrams a night. I think that 3 milligrams is a great place to start. So first of all, melatonin not only improves deep sleep, but it improves REM sleep. So all of a sudden you'll start dreaming. You'll remember your dreams. Your dreams will be vivid. A lot of people stop using it because of that. They're like, oh my God, I'm dreaming. Well, you haven't been dreaming. And that's evidence that you're not experiencing efficient REM sleep. And REM sleep is when your body or your brain defrags the hard drive and catalogs memories and puts them away where you can find them later. So if you're not having effective REM sleep at night, you're really doing something that eventually will catch up to you with your brain. So if you are experiencing dreams, cut the dose in half. Like if the dreams are weird, like I can't take this, then go down to 1.5 milligrams or even 1 milligram. You can use as little as 600 micrograms has been studied with profound effects on improving sleep. So you don't have to use the 3 milligrams. You can buy the 3 milligram tabs and cut them in half and take 1.5 milligrams. You can cut that in half and you'll be right around the effective dose of around 600 micrograms. So you can just quarter that. But yeah, high doses are not going to hurt you. They just may make you groggy. If you wake up groggy in the morning, you probably took too much. We're going to take our last commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk about something that's really important. I kind of alluded to this on earlier shows a couple, 3 weeks ago, but there has been a downstream effect from COVID in the way cancer is being treated. And I want to address that because if you know somebody who has cancer or you've had cancer, COVID is a game changer. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I love beef. And if you love beef, listen up. I've discovered the best tasting beef in the world, and that's not an exaggeration, at Piedmontese.com. The Piedmontese breed is famous from Italy for being lean and unbelievably tender with half the fat and calories of traditional beef. Even typically tough cuts are tender when it comes from the Piedmontese cows. And for the first time ever, Piedmontese cows are being raised here in the USA. Get 2 free 10-ounce New York strips when you purchase $50 or more at Piedmontese.com with code SHR. Go to Piedmontese.com and use code SHR today. You will never eat any other type of beef ever again. You've heard me talk about the Chill Pill on the show and how effective it is at helping people who suffer from social anxiety, or sometimes when you just want to take the edge off to a long, stressful day. Well, listen to this story from Dylan Goutreau.
Definitely takes anxiety away, which I have a long history of having. Started out at 2 milligrams a day of Xanax. That was at 8 years old. And so I stopped using benzos 3 years ago. Extremely difficult. Yeah, so I spent about 3 years trying to find anything and everything I could that would be healthy for me to help with anxiety. Because I'm talking, full out panic attack. The Chill Pill was the first thing that I found that actually in the middle of a panic attack I can take, and it definitely subsides.
Go to drseeds.com. That's DRSEEDS.com. Use coupon code SHR and save 20% off your first bottle of the Chill Pill. Check it out. I promise this is one supplement that delivers. Do you remember those delicious toaster pastries you had when you were a kid? You know, the rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is, which flavor, strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon? They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Everybody wants to feel better, be healthier and happier. If you don't sweat profusely on a regular basis, you won't feel as good as you could. Studies have shown the power of infrared sauna. Infrared penetrates 1 to 2 inches into the body. It helps those with back pain, fibromyalgia, arthritis, depression, and anxiety. Patients get relief from infrared sauna. The Good Health Sauna has been shown to be an exercise mimetic, conveying many of the same benefits as cardio. There are a lot of reasons people buy a Good Health Sauna, but the bottom line is you will be a much happier, healthier person by using the Good Health Sauna every day. You'll crave it, you'll love it, and it will be the best purchase you have ever made. Good Health Saunas provide commercial-grade saunas for in-home and commercial use, backed by the best lifetime warranty in the industry. Unmatched customer service and the best financing makes owning one easy and will fit any budget. Go to goodhealthsauna.com/superhumanradio to learn more and save 25% off. Chronic stress leaves us tired, distracted, and physically vulnerable. Apollo Neuro is here to help you take control. Apollo Neuro is a new wearable that trains your nervous system to be more resilient to stress. Apollo's gentle vibrations use your sense of touch to help you recover from stress, going from fight or flight to rest and digest so you can relax, get to sleep, focus, and stay healthy. Developed by physicians and neuroscientists, Apollo Neuro has been tested in multiple clinical trials and is proven to improve heart rate variability, the key biometric of stress. Special offer for friends of Superhuman Radio. Try Apollo Neuro today and get 15% off your purchase at apolloneuro.com/superhuman. That's APOLLONEURO.com/superhuman.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. Don't hate us because we feel good.
Welcome back. Okay, we have some more questions that just popped up. The first one is from Daniel Cook. He says, why did you go with the sauna company you went with? Well, number one, they have a fantastic lifetime warranty, which is really important when you buy any product that's fairly expensive, number one. Number two, they have very, very low EMF, and they have no toxic chemicals used like glues and anything like that in the wood that they use, which is also very important because you don't want to sit in there and feel like you're doing something good, and meanwhile, because of the heat, you're breathing in toxins. You know, that doesn't make any sense. But the real reason was that they promised to give to my audience. They guaranteed me that no matter how much somebody wanted to spend, they would find a way to get them into a sauna. So they started right off with a 25% off discount for my audience, which was huge because the sauna is expensive. 25% is a lot of money. On top of that, they started off with 18 months, same as cash. So interest-free financing. But more importantly, if you call them up and you say to them, look, I got $40 a month, I want a sauna, they'll get you into one. They will. And that really is a big deal because I believe in sauna and the science is profound about sauna. And I've been using sauna since I was a young man. I have a sauna at home. Every gym I've ever belonged to, I belong to because they had sauna. I won't join a gym that doesn't have a sauna, although that's not helping me right now because of COVID and our governor has the saunas all closed down. But nonetheless, I know sauna improves the quality of life all the way around. And when I said to them, I need you to like tell me, like, I don't want anybody to say, I couldn't get it because I couldn't afford it. If somebody calls you and says, I got $45 a month to put to this, I want a sauna, a 2-man sauna for my house and for me and my wife, they promised me that they would get people into it. So that's really the reason why I chose them. And they have a great product. They have a great reputation in the industry. They've been around for a long, long time. And that's the important thing. Thank you so much, Carrie Kruger. She said, I salute you. Thanks for watching. Carrie lives in South Africa. I love it. I love that people live on other continents and watch the show and listen to the show. It's thrilling to me. I remember the first time it happened to me. I was at Clear Channel. And this is when we first had the live stream, because I set up my own live stream when we were at Clear Channel using my own server. And I had a guy send me an email during a commercial break, and he said that he was listening to the show. He lived in the UK, and he's listening to the show in the tubes. And I had no idea what the tubes were. So I read his email, and I said, this comes from so-and-so. He's listening. Oh, he's in the UK. I said, oh, he's listening to the show in the tubes. And I said, what the hell are the tubes? And by the time I was finished talking, he emailed me again and said, those are the underground trains. I said, oh, the subways. We call them subways here in the United States. That was the first time that happened. It just changed my perspective of the world. The world just got a little bit smaller. I was like, oh my God, I'm talking into this microphone and somebody on another continent is listening. And in this case, watching. So it's pretty cool. Joey Storzum says, and I don't know if this is a serious question or not, butter or can't believe it's not butter? Definitely butter. Can't believe it's not butter is all chemicals. It's probably soybean oil. It's a lot of horrible oils that you just don't want to fool with. So yeah, definitely butter, Joey. Michelle Melton, who asked me about the popliteal cyst, said it started in 2010. It went away for a while. Comes back if I do certain things. There you go. She had an x-ray. They don't see anything. Not big enough to drain. And I caved and took the cortisone shot. Yeah, that's a bad move. Only lasted 30 days. Had a massage and cupping today. Do peptides work? I would try BPC 157. Absolutely. I would definitely try BPC 157. And I would try doing it locally, in the skin on the side of the knee that you can pull out with your fingertips and just put it right there and put 500 micrograms in once a day, for a couple of weeks and see how that goes. Absolutely. But it's the result of inflammation. There's no doubt about that. I don't know if you're a big carb person, if you eat a lot of carbs and sugars, but those types of things don't help these types of conditions because they are pro-inflammatory. Daniel Cook says, thanks for your answer. I'll be checking them out. Yeah, they're great. They're great. And like I said, if you call them up and say, look, man, I got $45 a month to commit to this. I want a sauna. I really want one. Like I can't have one now because of COVID. I need to get in one. This is the way to do it. Peter Panorgas says, The chill pill is not available in Canada. I know. It's not available in Sweden. I have a good friend in Sweden that wants it. It's those things may be changing. Those things may be changing soon. Okay, so let's get on to the last thing I want to talk about before we end the show today, and that is cancer and COVID. COVID has completely changed the way cancer is being treated, and not necessarily in a bad way. One really good study showed that a delay in breast cancer operations turned out to be not life-threatening in early stage disease. They would have happened. They would have had surgery, but it turns out that they didn't need the surgery after they had no choice but to sit and wait. Other treatments are taking place. So they avoided the surgery. That means that they avoided the expensive surgery. They avoided the wear and tear on a woman's body that surgery produces. And so the reality is we're learning a lot about the things that we just didn't need after all. You know, the medical orthodoxy is so fast to send us up to the hospital to go have surgery. They're so fast to tell us, oh, we got to get you in right away before this gets worse. And the reality is now that it doesn't seem to be that way. It seems to be that the reality is that a lot of these procedures that people are going for didn't need to be done. They weren't saving anybody's lives. The other thing that has changed in the way of COVID and cancer is people are afraid to go to the hospital for their cancer therapies because they don't want to catch COVID, which is resulting in doctors having to have different types of discussions with their patients. They really need to and you know, there's one last question from Matt Beatty I just saw here, and I am going to answer it. I don't want you to think that I'm dodging this question, anybody. They're having to have conversations with their patients and say, well, you know, if we don't do this, it probably won't be the worst thing in the world for you. We're learning that you didn't have to do it. And if you do go into the hospital, you always run the risk of getting COVID-19. Because let's face it, we're all the COVID-19 patients that are being affected to the greatest degree and the sickest, they're in hospitals. So it's really interesting what's happening right now. All of these quote unquote, oh, you've got to have this taken care of right now. Now they're going, well, maybe you don't. We just figured out you don't have to. A lot of these women didn't end up, the disease didn't progress like the way we thought it was going to. We treated it with other things. They're doing a lot better. They didn't need the surgery. All of those surgeries, which means that insurance should be getting cheaper, right? The less hospitals charge insurance companies, then they are supposed to lower their premiums. It's going to be interesting to see how COVID affects insurance premiums next year. It'll take till next year to find out how COVID is affecting insurance premiums. But the reality is that there is definitely an effect, and it should be a positive effect. There should be an effect where people feel better. So Rick Pack says he just heard my about excessive carbs. Can you talk about what the observation regarding carbs and calmness? I've seen that some increase the carbs and feel calmer. Of course, excess is bad. So carbohydrates do have an effect on serotonin production. We know that. People who eat higher carbs generally have higher serotonin production. The irony about that is that supplementing with 5-HTP and raising serotonin production will ward off the need for carbohydrates. So you have less urges to eat carbs when your serotonin levels are naturally high. So there definitely is a link. That's why people who eat high carb diets tend to call them feel good foods, because they are feel good foods. When you eat a lot of bread and pasta and pizza and stuff like that, you definitely feel calmer and better. Now, if you find other ways to raise serotonin levels, you don't crave carbs. So you could just supplement with 5-HTP a couple, 3 times a day, and you won't crave carbs. So there's a way to harness that and not have to use carbs to raise serotonin levels. But yeah, you're right. There definitely is a link there. But the other thing that you have to remember about the 3 macronutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, everything we eat has a level of toxicity. No food is actually uneventful. Let's use that word. No food. But the foods that have the highest degree of inflammation production are all carbohydrates. Sugar is the worst. Starchy carbs, acellular carbohydrates like flours, they're horrible. They cause inflammation in the body. That's why when people go keto or carnivore, the first thing they notice is, man, my knees don't hurt anymore. Yeah, because carbohydrates, especially the starchy ones, contribute to inflammation. There's no doubt about it. So it's a slippery slope. Carbs make you feel good, but they make you more inflamed and make your bones and everything hurt more. I think that if you're somebody who craves carbs, you could absolutely benefit from 5-HTP supplementation. Daniel Cook says, thanks for the answer. I'll be checking them out. Sorry, I got that already. Let me see. There's one other question that someone asked me, and I don't want them to think that I dodged it because it's a hot question. Hold on a second. Let me find it here. So, here it is. Wait a second. Matt Beatty asked me, he said, because I said that no question is off topic. So he said, have you seen the full body cam video of George Floyd's arrest? If so, what is your opinion? My opinion hasn't changed. It never changed. The guy was clearly freaked out. He had such a high level of anxiety. He thought they were going to shoot him. Because the cop that approached the car within like 30 seconds of approaching the car had his gun out. I mean, if a cop walked up to my car, pulled me over, the lights flashing, maybe I did something wrong, and he walked up with a gun, I'm freaked out now. I'm like, so I just went from not getting shot to possibly getting shot just that fast, right? So the guy was so freaked out. They even used a term implying that he was having such high anxiety that the guy that was kneeling on his neck said, well, that's why I called the ambulance, because he was having such high anxiety. And that could have contributed to his demise, quite frankly, right? Because you can have a heart attack just from being scared crapless. So, but my opinion of this never changed. The guy was in handcuffs. Like, give him a break. Look, I have been handcuffed a few times. When they handcuff you behind your back, it is nerve-wracking. It's nerve-wracking. There's just something very unnatural to having your shoulders folded back in that fashion and them pulling you around and the pain in your shoulders, and you feel like your shoulders are going to get dislocated any second, and then them trying to guide you into the car and your hands are behind you. You got to sit against your hands and say, and I understand being arrested isn't supposed to be comfortable, right? But handcuff people in the front. They're worried because if you're handcuffed in the front, that if you still have a gun on you, you can get it, or you could still fight or do something like that. So handcuff them in the front and then get a tie wrap and tie wrap it to their belt loop so they can't lift their hands. There's no reason. We don't have to handcuff people behind their back. We don't. It's just too brutal. Most people aren't that flexible, especially, excuse me, if you're obese. One of the times I was arrested, I was 300 pounds. I told the cop, I can't get my arms back there. He was nice enough to say, okay, I'm going to handcuff you in the front, but don't try. I said, I'm not going to try anything. He put me in the front. I got in the car. I was very cordial. I wasn't freaked out. So my opinion of this situation hasn't changed. The guy was subdued already. He was handcuffed. What resistance he was doing was purely out of fear. If you watch that video, the leaked video from the body cam, guy was freaked effing out. Maybe it's because of the drugs he had used. That's what they're saying, that his anxiety was heightened. Maybe, okay, but the cops could have said to him when they were trying to push him in the car, they could have said, okay, look, sit there for a little while. Take their hands off him. He can't run. He's handcuffed. There's three of them standing blocking him. He can't go anywhere. Like, let the guy calm down for a couple seconds. No, they had to move him quickly into the car and get him out of there. And so I think that these cops really messed up big time. I do. That hasn't changed just because I've seen this video. In fact, I feel more so because the guy was freaked out, afraid. Maybe he did push himself into a heart attack. And then he asked to lay down on the floor. He asked to lay. When they were trying to get him in the back of the car, he said, lay me down on the ground. Lay me down on the ground. Please lay me down on the ground. So they laid him down on the ground because he asked to. But the guy didn't have to kneel on his head like that. They could have just stood there. He was on the ground. His hands are handcuffed behind him. He's not going to jump up and start running. I don't know. I think that There's a lot that police officers can learn about this. Like, you don't have to handcuff people behind their back. You can handcuff them in front of their body. If you're worried that they're going to use their arms as a weapon, then tie wrap their handcuffs to their belt loop or their belt so they can't lift their hands. Problem solved. That's it. One extra step. Stop handcuffing people behind their back. There are a lot of injuries. I know guys who never had problems with their shoulders. They got handcuffed behind their back one time, dislocated the shoulder. The shoulder's a problem for the rest of their lives. They're not going to get any money from the police department for that. Stop handcuffing people behind their backs. And if a guy is clearly freaked out, maybe he's on a hallucinogenic, give him a friggin' second. Have him say, look, buddy, just sit there for a while. Just sit there. He's handcuffed. He's freaked out. He's not resisting arrest. He's not saying, F you, I'm going to kick your ass. He's saying, look, man, just give me a second. I can't breathe. It's like, okay, sit there. That's all they had to do. None of this would have ever happened if they would have just did that. So my opinion hasn't changed. Once the cops have you in custody and you're handcuffed, there's no reason for you to die. None. You got no gun. You can't shoot a gun. You're handcuffed. You could try to run, but they're going to outrun you because your hands are handcuffed. You can't run. I mean, come on. The fight is over. The fight is over. So, yeah, my opinion has not changed. Let's see. We have some comments, it looks like, so then we'll wrap it up. So I guess he had fentanyl, meth, cardiovascular disease assisted in his demise. Absolutely. But if they would have just let him sit there on the edge of the car, the seat of the car, and kind of gather himself, I think it would have changed. It would have been different. Interlock multiple cuffs behind the back for overweight or larger people. But it's still uncomfortable. It still hurts. It still hurts. You're putting people in a position, even if when I was 330 pounds, that wouldn't have helped at all when they handcuffed me. It wouldn't have helped. And the cop was nice. I said, look, man, I can't keep my arms back here. This is killing me. And I didn't curse at him. I didn't say, you better, I didn't do that. Like, I know the law kind of shit. He says, I'll handcuff you in the front. He says, but if you try anything, I'm going to put him right back. I says, absolutely. And he handcuffed me in the front. I got in the back of the car. We talked on the way to the police station. It was nice. I think they got to stop handcuffing people behind the back. There's no reason for it. It doesn't provide any extra security if you handcuff him in the front and you tie wrap the handcuffs to his belt or his belt buckle or his belt loop or whatever. When are we going to bring back Casual Friday with Elisa? We've talked about it. We're booked through September. The show is growing so quickly. We were booked through September. And I would love to start doing Casual Friday again. But, if it wasn't for the past 4 weeks, I've done 5 shows a week. Rob Regish had to take off at the last minute, and I welcomed it on Tuesday because I had other work to do. And then this guest cancels at the last minute, but I still had to do something today. I had to do a show. We're just so buried alive. We're just keeping up with what we can keep up with right now. Elisa is amazing. I mean, the way she books guests, it's just phenomenal. The research that she's reading, the things that she's the people that she's inviting to the show. I mean, it's just outstanding. We've had some really good shows lately, and that's all her. I just come here and talk to you guys. But yeah, I would love to start doing Casual Friday again. I really would, but it's just going to take some time. That's all. That's all I got for today. I appreciate everybody watching and listening. I appreciate all your interaction, all your questions. They're great questions. I hope I did a good job answering them as much as possible without being a douchebag. Today is Friday, and we're not on the air Monday. I just found out. I don't think we have a show Monday, but that may change over the weekend. Anything is subject to change. So I'll let you know as we get closer. And of course, please share the show. And also, don't forget our Instagram. Okay, so we have a new person handling our social media. Her name is Natalie Kapitsky. She keeps telling me, please follow us on Instagram if you are, in fact, on Instagram. We have a lot of great offers that are exclusive to Instagram from sponsors, so you can check that out there. And have a wonderful weekend, a safe weekend. Don't forget, if you're going to go out drinking, make sure you have a bottle of dihydromoracetam from purenootropics.com. You get 15% off. I think it's now 20%. I think I actually increased it. It's SHR10 is the coupon code, I believe. I hope I'm right. Natalie's going to get mad at me now. But Pure Nootropics has a product called DHM. You take one before and one after you've been out drinking. No hangover the next day. You'll still be able to go to the gym. You'll love it, and you'll thank me for it. Okay, we'll see everybody next week. Have a great weekend. Take care.